Oh, just setting my microphone. Hello, mortals. This is the Booktube Goddess, the #1 drag queen booktuber on YouTube. And this is a Get Ready With Me where we talk about books while I get into drag. And I think today we're also going to be talking about Becky Chambers' Prayer for the Crown Shy. So we have Lynette, we have Cappuccino, and we have Britta. Yay! Hopefully Lori will show up because I know she was the one that was talking about just discussing a particular book during one of these Get Ready With Me. So today I think I'm going to be doing blue. So I throw on some blue. And how is everyone doing reading wise? I have just finished Fairy Tale by Stephen King, and I am currently reading Nona the Ninth. We have Sandra. Good evening, Sandra. It's early morning, not early, but it's morning for me, or afternoon. It's noon for me. I'm just going to put down some eyeliner just to get an idea of what I want to do today. So anyway, Stephen King's Fairy Tale. I got in Shelve It or Shove It because it's was in fantasy, and I like the cover, of course. Interesting. Oh, say hello to Cool Gamer. Yay. And I always see you also on those writing sprints with, oh, I forgot her name. And then Michelle Schusterman comes on a lot. Anyway, I thought it was interesting, Fairy Tale, because even though it was kind of marketed as a fantasy, to me, it read as a horror. Big surprise, it's Stephen King. And there's a lot of horror elements to it. And it reminded me a little bit of The Gunslinger. And so I can see it being a fantasy, but I was getting more horror vibes. But here's the thing for Stephen King, for me, his specialty, in my opinion, are his characterizations, are his character developments, and how he describes characters. And I loved the main character. And the other main character was a dog. Loved that Radar, the dog Radar. And you don't even get into the fantasy part. He doesn't go through the portal until like 40, 50% into the novel. And I preferred, which is weird coming from me because you know I love speculative fiction, but I preferred the portion of the novel that builds up to the portal, that builds up to going into the portal and going into this fantasy realm more than the fantasy part. I preferred his real world development of his characters. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. Okay. Cappuccino started. Oh, I love Ship of Magic. That's the Mad Ship with Robin Hobb. Also finished Daughter of Dr. Moreau. Oh, congratulations, Mooney. Just won your first ever bookish giveaway. Hope you got something good. I'd love those Le Guin's, those are the later Earthsea novels. And I loved, I believe, and I loved how her characters are older and she's more reflective in her writing about I guess that portion in Le Guin's actual life and how it reflects in the writing. I really like those later Earthsea novels. Oh, short story by Clifford. Oh, you started Babel. I really want to know what you think of Babel. Because I have great memories of reading it, but then I've heard that it's very problematic when for the women characters. Just finished Stone Blind, reading a nonfiction. Came from the Closet. Sounds like a gay history, maybe. Okay, Lynette. Lynette, you're on the same page as me. You like the first part of Fairy Tale with the relationship with, because I mean, I don't even, the main character is this jock, so I don't usually relate to jocks, but I just really loved him and his relationship with the dog and with the old man and the father, and that was before the portal, before the fantasy part. Bookish, March of a Book in Your Native Language that is also queer. Oh, I love that. By the way, anyone watch the latest Bookish Cover War? Yes, Bookish Cover War. The Israeli versus the US. And currently I'm reading Nona the Ninth. That Tamsin Muir is such a fascinating writer. Of course, it was marketed as lesbian necromancers in space, which sounds kind of campy, but it's really not campy. And I loved the voice in the first novel, which was this really crusty, cantankerous woman warrior type. And let me turn off my phone. And the second novel, I was really disappointed because we didn't have that same voice. But the author was doing a lot of, I thought, interesting experimentation with plot and story structure. And I appreciated that even though I didn't enjoy it as much as the first book. So anyway, now I'm on the third book, Nona the Ninth. And this is an author I think you got to watch out for because she's doing a lot of this, the voice and the character I love, but it's this totally different character that's kind of reads almost as a child. And the language or the prose, it's a lot of stream of consciousness. So it's like this author is continually experimenting with her writing style and writing choices. So I just think it's fascinating. Okay, let me put down some eyeliner. By the way, these eyebrows are really bad. So this is going to be a bang day. I'm going to wear wigs with bangs because these eyebrows just, I don't know what happened. They just, I almost felt like I wanted to redo my makeup today because the eyebrows were so bad. But oh, darn it. I think this is drying out. Switch pens. Okie doke. think. Okay. I don't know where we're going to go with this. Nonfiction November. I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm not a huge fan of nonfiction. DK Moon with eyebrow. Oh, God. Oh, these eyebrows are so bad. But I'm going to be wearing bangs today. Just not going to get over it. Record, Secret, Border, and Element. Have a nonfiction book you want to finish. Do a Bob Ross and everything will come out together. Happy Little Accidents. After reading Heroine Now Nona, I find looking back and rereading Gideon a bit of a slow starter. Yeah, I've heard that too, Sandra, that the more you rereading these books are better, and I can kind of see, especially the second book for me, it feels like I really need to reread it, but I don't reread books very often. But I still enjoyed Gideon quite a bit. I don't remember if it was a slow starter or not, but yeah, I know what you mean, Cap. These things happen. Does anyone know if Lori's coming today? Because I kind of wanted to do the, I mean, she was kind of the inspiration for doing a read of, or a discussion of Pray for Crown Shy. I can't even remember the name of the book. We'll just wait a little bit to get started. And honestly, all I did was I wrote down a few topics to talk about Prayer for a Crown Shy. But I think I want to go out. I don't feel like I go out far enough with the color. So what I'm going to do, this is just cream. It's supposed to be cream base. It looks so light on camera, but it's dark. Oh well. I'm coming out really far with this blue. Okay. Lori can't come today, but she told me she wanted us to go ahead. Oh, that's too bad. I have a few questions. It should be very casual and just conversational. I reread Alive by Piers Paul Reed because it was the 50th anniversary of the Andes plane crash. Yeah, I think I saw the movie. I can't imagine it not being really grim. Okay, has everyone read, or most of you read, or want to discuss Prayer for the Crown Shy, which is the second Monk and Robot book? Let me... Hold on, I think I had a little graphic for it. Ta-da! Oh, you read it this week? Great. Okay, so I just put down a couple topics to talk about. The first one being the setting. And I said this about the first book, Song for the Wild Built, is I think it's really interesting that it's a utopia. Because we read, or in speculative fiction, you read so much about where the story is set in a dystopia, which is utopia is the perfect society, and dystopia, things have gone quite wrong, like the Hunger Games. But you don't really see novels very often set in a utopia. And what are the issues of someone living in a utopia? And in this case, the main character, sibling Dex, is it Dax or Dex, is sort of trying to find themselves, which is a more introspective choice to tell a story about, sort of a character arc. Thought it was strange that the audiobook of Crown Shy being cheaper than the Kindle book. Oh, don't get me started. The cost of the Kindle book for Fairy Tale by Stephen King was like really expensive. I was like, I would have waited longer if I didn't get it for the Shelf It or Shove It. But anyway, one of the reasons I like utopias is it brings me back to, let me get my shadow. It brings me back to Star Trek, the original Star Trek. And it may be why I'm not as into the current Star Treks, but back in the Gene Roddenberry times, it presented a society where everyone is equal, racially, it presented this enlightened society. And the current Star Trek series, you don't get that much, but I think it was one of the big draws and why so many people became Trekkies or Trekkers during the original run, and for the second generation too. But like I said, certainly for Gene Roddenberry's time. But Pray for the Monk Shy, I get that same feeling. The only thing I'm not sure about, because in this one they discussed the economy, because what are those little tokens called they use? But it's more of like a trading system, but it still uses some type of currency. But it also assumes that if you are in deed, that it's not an issue. Oh, Fit to be Read. Yay, thank you for joining us. These books are very introspective, yes. It's a lack of challenge. Right, and that's why I think, like Cap says, you get this introspective story arc, because the challenge is, how do I find meaning in life? So you get these deeper storylines than sort of the action-packed, how do I survive this dystopia? Optimism in a society where humans solve many social problems, definitely linked to Trek. Really liked it was a utopia, but not a perfect world. People still had issues and challenges. I like the fact that the people of the coastlines rejected most technology, but it is refreshing and helpful to read something that is hopeful. Life with no technology would be impossible for me. Yeah, me too. PEBs. Yes, those icons were called PEBs. I think there was, yeah, I definitely preferred the part of Panga that wasn't really anti-technology. It was just those people on the coast, except for that one guy that they stayed with. Okay, I'm going to go for a darker blue. But those coastline people, except for that one guy, was very really didn't seem to care for people that were technology driven, which was interesting given that they had to deal with a robot, which is a sign of of the old ways. You got it more in the first book about the history of Panga, that there was some sort of ecological disaster that happened, brought about by technology, which is why they ended up being in the path that they're on. I'm actually trying to think of other books set in utopias, and I can't think of any. Not all of the communities had to conform to the same ideals, as long as it was sustainable. Yeah. You would not be in a no technology community either. I like the fact that Avery from the Coastlines went on a yearly ramble. The Amish let their teens do something similar. I got it. You know, I haven't read anything else by Becky Chambers, just these Monk and Robot books. But I would call them sort of quiet stories, and I wonder if all her writing's kind of like that. This is blending in person. You just can't see it so much on the monitor. Is the Giver utopian? I'd have to reread it. I thought there was a lot, sort of a lack of freedom. It didn't seem, because wasn't the main character's journey sort of discovering individuality? It's like the society was built at a loss of the individual. I have to reread that one. Logan's Run had a nice utopia until you got a little older. Yeah. Le Guin's Coming Home is utopia. I haven't read that one. The other Becky Chambers are very positive. Someone called them solar punk. Actually, I've just recently heard that, Sandra. Solar punk. Oh, there was, okay. Giver was utopian on the outside, but there was a very dark side. Have not read Becky Chambers' other books. Hope punk. I kind of like that. Hope punk. I have all her books. She is a must-buy author for me. Definitely hopeful. Tempted to go into the bush forest to see if our trees are crown shy. I suspect that's just in the novel. Left-Handed Darkness. Yeah, that could be the planet. It's been a long time. I think you're right. That might be. I mean, the human wasn't from the utopian. It's the society he visited, the planet. I don't remember. Okay, so one of my topics, since we just mentioned the crown shy, was the meaning of the title. And for those who don't remember or haven't read it, these trees grow, the canopies of the trees that grow, they never touch. Somehow the trees recognize each other so their branches don't intermingle, which I think is a metaphor for the people of Panga, where they allow the individual to grow and blossom, but not necessarily touch each other. Or maybe it's just for sibling Dex. Sibling Dex is the type of person that, for whatever reason, doesn't want to touch other people or to get involved with other people. So the title, Prayer for the Crown Shy, isn't necessarily referring to these trees that never touch each other, but to those people that want to be isolated, that are the, I want to say ultimate introvert, but a prayer for the introverts that want to maintain that core and not intermingle their lives with each other. That's what I got from the title. I don't know what you guys got, but I think they're very interesting titles, and I think they're very deliberate. I wish I had a darker blue. Crown shyness is a real thing. I've only seen it once. I thought it was just in this novel. I don't know. Hopeful and optimistic. Okay. Some trees are crown shy. To keep it becoming too naive. Yeah. Oh, there you go. The first book was a reference to Mosscap, Wild Built, because it's built in the wild. And this one is for sibling decks. Okay, so let me, I have this other blue, but I think it's just, I know you guys aren't seeing the differences as much as I am. Of these shades of blue, that is. I think it's fascinating that crown shy is a real thing. I probably should have looked it up before or when I was thinking about it. But nonetheless, I think the titles are, it's a reference to those people that are introverted. And using introvert in the way of sort of the classic Myers-Briggs version of people, not necessarily shy, but just get exhausted being around other people. As opposed to extroverts that get energy being around other people. Introverts need their alone time in order to sort of recharge their batteries. And yes, I am an introvert with that definition. Do we think there should be a third monk? And yeah, I do. I would love a third Monk and Robot book and getting to see more than just Mosscap. Kind of like the open ending. I do think that it feels like a third book should follow. It didn't feel complete yet. Well, I could just see this as a series like Murderbot, where Becky Chambers just explores different aspects of sibling decks and the robot's relationship. And Sis said, well, we all have our blind spots, or not blind spots. We all have our visions of what utopias should be. I think at some point Mosscap will decide whether to return to live in the wild or to stay with humans. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to talk about, because this leads us to that as a topic, is, I'm pulling up my little bullet point, the relationship between Mosscap and sibling Dex. Because I think it's a story of a platonic love affair, which I am very, very much into, because I don't think that's explored enough in our stories. I mean, the one I really love, since Cap, you're reading Live Shift, but it's not Live Shift, but in the Chronicles of the Elderlings by Robin Hobb, the relationship between Fitz and the Fool is this intense platonic love affair. No sexual relations or sexual component between the two. And I think another reason why I like reading middle grade sometimes is because when I was 10, 11, my best friend Mitchell it was like this ultimate love affair between us. We were completely in love with each other, and there was nothing physical about it. We were 10 or 11, and there's no experimentation, none of that stuff. It was just this friendship that was so deep and intense. And I remember, this is like in the 70s, but we would walk around the playground together holding hands, and we were pulled aside by teachers saying, oh, it's not appropriate for two boys to hold hands. And we were like, why not? Well, and we would just like clutch each other's hands without even thinking about it. And I know we were separated from our home rooms because they felt our relationship was too close, so they didn't want to. I don't know what they were thinking. I'm sure it was some sort of ingrained homophobia of the times, but they did not like seeing these two boys being as close as we were, so we were separated. And we would do stupid stuff. Like, I remember we would go around the playground and pretend to cry. And we would wait until someone would say, well, what's wrong? Why are you crying? And then we would like get up and do this little dance and go, murder, 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 murder. Now, it was the dumbest thing. But those types of platonic stories, it's kind of like brings me back to that point where no, they don't have to be romantic or sexual or any of that. And I know, like with Fitz and the Fool, it's so obvious that they don't have that sexual or romantic component, but I know that's off-putting for some people, because I don't know if you saw that movie Thelma and Louise, where I think that was also this deep platonic love affair between these two women. But then you would hear people say, oh, they're lesbians. Like, there can't be this intense bond between two people if it doesn't include a sexual component. But for me, that movie, no, they weren't lesbians, I guess, at least from what we saw in the movie. And why did they have to be lesbians in order to be in love? That type of thing. Okay, I went on way too long on that, but they're certainly very close. I do think that it might be romantic, but not sexual. Because I was wondering, was sibling Dex asexual? But in this book, she's not, or they're not, excuse me. They're not, because they have a sexual liaison, where there, of course, was no jealousy on Mosscap's part. On someone as on the asexual spectrum, I resonate to that kind of relationship, and it's not at all talked about much or represented. Yeah, I just see it in the Monk and Robot books, and like I said, the Fitz and the Fool series are. Okay, for those who don't know the Elderling Chronicles, there are, I think, 5 or 6 trilogies or quadrologies in this universe, but 3 of them deal with Fitz and the Fool, which is the first one, the Farseer trilogy, the Tawny Man trilogy, and the Fitz and the Fool trilogy, which just broke my heart. But their relationship is, I would consider sort of a platonic or asexual love affair. I've never been in love. I think I'm both asexual and aromantic. I don't think you need to be asexual to have a very intense and possible romantic leading platonic relationship. Well, here's an interesting thought, because I haven't thought about it much, but can platonic relationships be romantic? I had been separating them. So you guys are making me think. What is a romantic relationship versus a platonic, or can they be both? Always excited to read stories portraying platonic love and our deep friendships. It's a nice break from the constant romance choosomeness of the ultimate. Yeah. Especially with YA. I mean, because YA used to not be, young adult used to not be a category, but you see it more now. And they often have these very Twilight-esque, I'll die for you, Heathcliff and Catherine type romances, which don't seem to be very healthy. Been 30 years since you've been in a relationship, and I am happier for it. I love Dex's fling with Leroy. Romance and sex are not the same. They often go together, but they are not the same. Agree. Okay, I need to. Such an interesting conversation, but I need to also do this makeup. Just want a darker blue. Okay. I think we don't talk a lot about romance versus sex drive because society teaches us to assume that it's the same. I just keep going over it, but on the monitor it looks the same. So I'm going to go in with this really, really deep blue violet and see what happens. I'll just use this brush. This looks almost black. Trying to think of other books that have more of that platonic. I just want to call it a love affair. That's better. I mean, other than middle grade, because you do find it more in middle grade, where friendships are more focused on than love affairs. Actually, what about Sherlock Holmes and Watson? Oh, and what am I thinking? Sam and Frodo. Dex and Leroy were sweet and cute together. Like how they learned from one another. Like the older woman who took Mosscap in her boat to be my friend. Sam and Frodo, Holmes and Watson. Oh, that's kind of true. Yeah. The necromancers and their cavalier. Thank you, Sandra. Yeah. Go back to TLT. Pippin and Mary. But of course, the Lord of the Rings was meant to be another children's book. Now, I had heard, I don't know where I just read this or heard it on a YouTube video, but that Tolkien was the first sort of drafts that are no longer in existence, but I think it was Christopher Tolkien, his son, talking about it. It was definitely going to be a children's book, and the villain was the necromancer named in The Hobbit, but the necromancer was much more cartoony type of figure than Sauron later turned out to be, who was sort of bombastic and kind of like another version of Smaug rather than what we got. Complicated in that queer love and sexual attraction had been coded in certain times and cultures, so I believe it is valid to read it as homosexual if you do. Yeah, that's true. The writers and storytellers, well, it was the love that must not be named, so it would have to be kept hidden and quiet. So yeah, a lot of those, especially earlier stories, may be queer, but had to be disguised. Okay, spending too much time on this. I think we're okay with this. I think I'm going to go in with some black. Just to deepen it up some more. Okay, let's go on to another topic. Oh, of course, the writing topic that we see so much pop up is not just the meaning of life, but the meaning of death. What do we think of Mosscap having that little part of him broken and just accepting the fact that he's going to die, you know? And he didn't seem angry about it or angsty about it, but just sort of resigned. Oh, my little piece is broken, and I guess I'm dead. That's it. Just leave me off on the side of the road. Nice knowing you. But of course, he doesn't die. They figure out a way to repair his piece in a manner that he is morally right with, because it couldn't be manufactured in a certain way. It couldn't. Basically, the robots, I guess, just want entropy to take over, and eventually they'll just all break down and they'll no longer exist. But almost got like this Christian Science kind of vibe from Mosscap, where extraordinary means couldn't be used to prolong their life. I think we got a little bit of that from the first book too. Gal, I'm going to be looking at your comments. I just want to do this little smear of black. I just don't want to cut the crease with some cellar water again, but I have to. No, I don't think I am. Okay. Do you think Tolkien was intentionally? Yeah, I don't think so either. Decision that he made to recycle and remake the part from the same material so as not to be more physically separate from the other robots. He recognized he was already diverging mentally from the robots that had not met or interacted with humans. Oh, that's interesting. I thought it was almost like a religion to him. Maybe religion's not the right word. I thought him refusing new peace was similar to people refusing transplants. Yeah, that's what I got. I work a job where I meet a lot of dying people and I have mixed feelings about accepting death. I read somewhere a description of someone dying when being full on life, like after a good meal. That's very interesting, Sandra. Yeah, I have mixed. I don't know. I have to think about that. I think by making Mosscap mortal, the relationship between him and Dex was in balance. It's a bit hard to have a real relationship with someone can't die. Yeah, that's true, because theoretically the robots could live forever, just keep replacing the parts. But they'll encoded, this is what it felt like. It's like they encoded in their programming that they have a set lifespan to being determined by when their parts wear out. He came around to accepting that a replacement or a repair was acceptable. But he also decided he had a boundary that he wanted to keep, right? Right. We are very equal in death in many ways. I like that, Sandra. My mother had chemo for her first cancer in the 60s, but refused to have it when she got lung cancer at age 78. Yeah, my stepmother did that too. Oh, thank you, Fit. She had lung cancer, and she had surgeries before. I mean, she had a hysterectomy. She was really young. But anyway, and I think she was in her late 70s too, when she was diagnosed with lung cancer and just said, nope. I'm a little reluctant to share this very personal story with you because I know it's a little triggering. I'm looking for my chroma cake. Hold on for a sec. I can't find my black and white chroma cake. Well, anyway, let me know if you're interested in me sharing a story of taking one's own life. So I said it was triggering. As I search for chroma cake. Now, this is going to be one of those cases where it's going to be staring me in the face. I really can't find him. Okay, anyway. The question asked by Mosscap and the robots is to find out what humans need. So was he ready to die, as he found in his answer? I don't think he was ready. I don't think he was ready to die at that point. And I think he wanted to find out more, his mission, to find out more about humanity. I think he was just accepting that he was dead. Okay, my father. Let me just try to do one more round to look for this chroma cake because I really do need it. Anyway, this is about my father when he was in his 80s. Oh, I told you it's going to be in front of my face. And he had this enormous fear of losing his mental facilities. He absolutely was terrified that he would have like Alzheimer's or something like that, or dementia. And when he started experiencing some symptoms where he was having trouble remembering certain aspects of his life, he went ahead and took his life. That was obviously the reason why he did it. He was called my uncle, his younger brother, terrified of not being able to remember things. And yeah, that's what happened. Which brings the point of when is it, or is it ever okay to unend yourself, or unalive yourself, as they say these days. Because of physical or mental issues you may have. And to be really dark, my mother, his first wife, took her own life. It's not funny. Well, it's ironically funny. Took her own life too when I was really young. So both my parents have committed suicide. So I told you this is going to bring you down. But it's an interesting question. When or if, is it ever acceptable to take one's own life? Okay. Oh, thank you, Sandra, but it's been a while ago. This isn't a recent thing. I think that euthanasia is fine if it is a free choice, which is why I think it should be legal with safeguards. It is an interesting question. I think it's difficult to say when it's okay. Yeah, it really is a quandary, because I mean, if you've ever been a teenager, you know how your emotions can really do a number on you. Okay, so I was going to do My mom is 91 now, and she has always said that she wants to be able to end her life if she feels her mind is going, and I can understand that. Oh, thank you, Gab. Like I said, it's not a recent thing. And remember, I wasn't very close to my father because he disowned me because I was gay, and we never spoke for like 20 years. But we did reconcile before that happened. I'm trying to think of what color to cut the crease with. I'm thinking purple, blue and purple, or blue and red. I think we're going to go with the purple. I could do yellow. I'm going to do purple. Yes, a lot of these live streams are me digging around looking for okay, I got some. Choice, agency, and euthanasia is a difficult but important discussion. I don't think there's a simple one-size-fits-all. I agree. I worry if we say this is when it's okay, we sort of are saying something about when life is not worth living or fighting for, and it's a dangerous territory. It is legal here for the terminally ill. I think terminal illness is kind of the ultimate, not ultimate, but if you can't end your own life when you're terminally ill and in a lot of pain, and there's no hope other than just suffering, if we don't say it's okay then, when there'd never be any other case where you would allow euthanasia. Well, this conversation took a turn. Okay. Oops. I'm going to cut my crease. Purples. Oh, if doctors have determined that death will occur within 6 months. We had to talk about these things recently with your father when he was in the hospital. He was still able to clearly communicate what he wants and what is not acceptable to him. Yeah, I think the closest thing we have in the United States is the, what's it called? Do not resuscitate clause. You're allowed to say, I don't do extraordinary medical means to keep me alive. But that's a lot different than having a doctor or someone actively assist you in. About getting back to Monk and Robot, I don't really think that was. Well, maybe it was. Of why Becky Chambers chose to include that scene with Moscow. He is in his care home again and doing better. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that, Kat. Makes the process easier for everyone. We updated his pulse form, which includes decisions about resuscitation, artificial feeding, respiration. Yeah, if you're at, I mean, if I was at that point and there's no feasible chance of recovery, I don't think I would want to live like that. Brother and sister had an argument in the hospital, and my mother stopped breathing. My brother wanted her to revived, but your mom had told us in the hospital that she did not want to be resuscitated. See, it can be hard on the family when families can't agree. Yeah, but in Lynette's case, her mother already said what she wanted, so it's not easy. It's hard to let go of. I mean, I know there's no equivalent, but it was my cat of 17 years. This happened like 10 years ago, but I just wanted to do everything that money could throw at the vet to keep her going, and it wasn't. It's hard to let go. That's all I'm saying. We have something called the White Archives, and you can fill in your wishes for everything from care to how you want the funeral to be, and give the password to the doc to your loved ones so they know. It really is a hard discussion. And there really is. No right or wrong answer. But that's what great books do. They make you think about things that aren't always easy to think about. Okay, I'm going to let this dry out a little bit, then I'll put on some glitter glue and glitter. My grandmother prepaid and planned her entire funeral service in advance. It really helped her mom out a lot. I want an unattended cremation, and then I want my son to scatter my ashes at the beach after a picnic. And my father didn't tell anyone what he wanted, but he was cremated, and I scattered his ashes on the West Coast in the Pacific Ocean. Great books for make you think, also about difficult things. Thank you, Britta. Thank you. You're welcome. He knows who to invite, and I bet he knows who not to invite to the barbecue. Good point, Lynette. Okay, do I have anything else? Okay, the only other topic I had on this, speaking of family, on Pray for the Crown Shy, is Dex's relationship with his family. Because we heard about it in Psalm for the Wild Built, about his family wanting the best for him, but he was sort of the black sheep of the family for not staying with that family unit. Again, crown shy, not wanting to get too close to other people. But we do get to see his family when he brings, again, paralleling it, the platonic love affair with a romantic love affair, bringing the partner to the family, in this case, bringing Mosscap to meet Dex's family. We got to see in this utopian society kind of this extended, I mean, it would drive me nuts being in that type of, living in that type of extended family dynamic. So I'm with Dex of wanting to strike out on their own. But it was really interesting seeing Dex coming home again, being the prodigal, and the relationship with their father was especially interesting because there did seem to be that bond there between the two when they went out and they like had a soda pop or something on the porch. I don't know. What'd you think of that? As I find eyeshadow to, oops, not that. I'm just setting this cream with some purple. Like I said, I had a very contentious relationship with my family, so it's really alien to me. To read about really close families. But I think it's interesting, even with the close family with that Dex had, that they still wanted to be apart from. from that family unit, even though it didn't appear that they had any major issues. Like some of us may know. If I get my way, I would have my body thrown out in the bush for the Tasmanian devil steed. I really enjoyed the section with his family. They loved him and he loved them, but he also needed more than the life they had lived on the farm. I agree, Cap. It was really interesting. Dex loves them, but he also needs their private space and doesn't want to share everything. I would hate to have all my family around me. I can cope with my youngest son living. Well, I mean, I'm married, and it's different when it's just one other person. I mean, I still want some alone time, but I don't get exhausted being around my partner like I would being in a group of people. I think they left because they wanted to be alone more. Yeah. I think their heart was really into it. I don't think they pushed him out. No, I don't either. I think Dex went out searching. Yes, that's what I got. They. You know, a funny thing, I have a real hard time with keeping track of they, them pronouns. I mean, I try to, out of respect for the people, but the funny thing, my husband is Filipino, and when we first met, he would always mix up pronouns and call men she, that type of thing, she, her, she. And I thought it was just sort of this gay affectation, because some gay men refer to other gay men as she, her, and that's sort of a throwback to the, like we were talking about the coded times when, like the term marry, no one uses it anymore, but unless you find an older gay man calling other gay men Mary, oh Mary, yada, yada, yada. But it goes back to that time where they had to hide, gay men had to hide their sexuality and sort of come up with their own language. And in Britain, they came up, if you look up Polari, P-O-L-A-R-I, it's a completely coded language that only gay men knew. And in the Philippines, there's a lot of dialects of languages in the Philippines, but there's one that's called the gay dialect. But anyway, that had nothing to do with my husband messing up pronouns, because he's Filipino, born and raised, and grew up with Tagalog, and there's a mix of Tagalog and English. But there is no gendered pronoun in Tagalog. And I've since noticed a lot of, it's not just Tagalog, but a lot of Asian languages, they don't have gendered pronouns. And I've noticed, especially, being around Filipinos, that they'll often mix up pronouns to people without even realizing it, just because there is no such thing as a gendered pronoun. Which makes you wonder why, in the at least Western languages, we're so hung up on these ungendered pronouns. And of course, if you study French, everything is gendered. But it's interesting to ponder why in the Western languages we are gendered, but not so much in some of the Eastern languages. I'm sure there's quite a few theses out there from master's and doctorate linguists that discuss that. Yeah, it's hard to keep track of, just especially for us older people. Texas found they're all lovely, but it'd be too many people for me as well. Mainly European language that have gendered pronouns. It's a large, busy family, so many nibblings. We don't have they in German. It doesn't work. Oh, wow. Because our second person plural is the same as first person singular. That's interesting. Little interaction with the baby in Moscow was so adorable. In Swedish, no things are gendered. We started to use a new pronoun, han, he, hun, she, hen for non-binary. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay. So now comes the messy part, putting on the glitter. Honestly, that's all I had to discuss for Prayer for a Crown Shy. And I'm sure that was a chaotic discussion. I hope everyone enjoyed it. But if anyone has something else to discuss about the novel, just throw it up. And let me know if you want to do this again. I mean, I think it's fun. It's the only issue is finding a book that everyone in the chat has read or wants to read. But yeah, I definitely am a Becky Chambers fan after reading these. Okay, let's start. Okay, glittered one side. What did you all make of this tea ceremony, being a tea monk, the Ethiopian version of therapy? I loved it. I mean, we didn't see it much in Prayer for the Crown Shy, but in Psalm for the Wild Bill, I love those tea ceremonies where he'd like spend a long time traveling to village. Oops. And then stopping to do the tea ceremonies where he just makes tea. But yes, it's like therapy. I mean, to traditional therapy where you talk to someone, but it was also almost an herbal therapy because he made teas based on what he thought people needed. I thought that was really neat too. But I love this. I love that tea ceremony. I kind of missed it from this one. I thought there would be more with the tea ceremony and maybe with Moscap helping Dex do his tea ceremony. But it was interesting because Dex went out of his way, I believe, to say that he was getting a little tired of tea ceremonies. It's like he grew out of them as he was getting closer and closer to Moscow. I'll read what you guys say, but I just need to put the glitter on while the glue is wet. Okay. Do people think the Pagan Society would actually work? No, and I'll tell you why in a bit. Let me go through this. Oh, thank you for being here, Sandra. Love the discussion. I could find another book. Would greed end up? Yes, that's what I think. Tea ceremony was very much like therapy. Tea was therapy. Great question. That's interesting, Britta. I think if greed isn't rewarded, it might not become an issue. How much of human nature is learned and how much of it is just inbred or ingrained? I think one of the reasons it works is because after Great Collapse, we sort of had to deal with reality and limitations of the planet. Sandra wants 6 is a dream life, but should have coffee instead. Take something like a disaster collapse to get past greed. I think certain things have a purpose for a season or phase of our lives. Maybe after Moscap's arrival, there is something else for Dex, a new phase, new vocation. Well, talking about greed, if you believe, and I believe, that certain human behaviors are, this is sort of sociobiological or psychobiological, are evolved from how we started as animals. And if greed is just sort of an innate desire to have the food, to hoard the food, or to be somewhere safe and not to, worry about your house being taken away, or not worried about your children, or not, sort of those lower Maslow's, the hierarchy of needs. How much of greed is just part of our genetics, I guess is what I'm saying. Or is it all just learned? Is it how we teach people? Is it how society is set up? And I don't know. I think I keep using this dried out. Here we go. How's there cat hair on my eyeliner? I don't know. Huh. I don't know what I think of this week's look. Let's see what you guys have to say. I think certain things have a purpose for a season or phase of our lives, and maybe Moss Cap's arrival. There's something else for Dex, a new phase. What would your answer be to what do you need? Another point I would like to make is that Moss Cap started to accumulate possession once. Oh, I forgot about that. That is a great one. Yeah, because the robots, of course, have no need for material objects. But once Moss Cap got in touch with people, he began collecting things. Yeah, what did that say? Maybe humans will ultimately corrupt the robots. Okay, we really needed a point on this, but shoot. Okay, I need to. Want that. Sorry, I'm almost done here. Just trying to blend out the okay, I'm just trying to finish this. Okay, I think we're done with the eyes. As I keep going back to it, I just don't like how this doesn't. Okay, now we're done with the eyes. Yeah, first you got a map, then a satchel, downloading books. Didn't you have pictures of people too? In the end, they were happy in the sea without anything you can collect. Dex was naked. Ah, there's so much symbology. This would be a great, I want to call it a novel, but it's novella to read or to study in like English class. I thought it was not interesting that so far owning things and collecting possessions had not been a problem for Mascap. No judgment by the author about it either, but could it become a problem? That would be interesting in a new book to see if they do meet other robots, if the other robots see Mascap as having picked up some bad habits from humans. I think the relationship between possessions and happiness is about what your possessions means in a relationship with other people, like books, a way to find connection. That's a good point. What does Mascap do once its satchel is full? With too many, you won't have any time to read and connect. For Mascap was the map, he and Dex share the world. It is true of the things that Mascap collects isn't. It's not like he's greedy or anything. But yeah, what does happen when his satchel is full? They didn't go over that, did they? I didn't put any blush on. We shall remedy that rather quickly. I didn't really. Yes, I'm going back to the eyes because I just realized I didn't. Just putting some white around the. Okay, then once that dries, I'll do something else. Oh, Sandra going? Go to bed, Sandra. Have a great night. I think that might be interesting. That could come up in the next book, assuming there will be one. I have a feeling there's going to be one. I have a feeling it's going to be a little series. You'll have to confront the fact that he has too many possessions. No, I think this is fine. Okay, now my least favorite part. Putting on lips. Just capping all my glitter so it doesn't go everywhere. Still goes over everywhere. But... Okay. This lipstick smells so good. It's Revlon matte. It's not as matte as I want it. Remember the let's just dry. The last video I did with the Israeli U.S. book covers. I had lipstick all over my teeth. Really annoying. This is just some chunky glitter I'm going to put. too much. Okay, so I believe not crazy about these lips, but leave well enough alone. I don't want to be here forever. I am going to complete this look. The blue necklace. And the wig I chose is, oops, just fell over, is Miss Double Stack. Which has, thankfully, nice bangs. Oh, maybe it doesn't have enough bangs. And I got some earrings. I just looked up and British Ghost lashes. I knew it. Oh my God. Oh my God, you guys. You guys are going to save me. I forgot the freaking lashes. Kept saying lashes. Oh, goodness. Goodness gracious. Always something. That's from the old Saturday Night Live, Emily Littell. It's always something. I've been seeing these reports about Bill Murray being problematic on some of the sets he's been on. Which I hate hearing about because I love Bill Murray. But that's why you shouldn't have heroes. He really wasn't my hero. I just like a few of the movies he's been in. Okay, let's have these lashes take us to the next level. There, does it make a big difference? Lashes always make a big difference, I think. Okay, rolling back to this double stack. My stomach is growling for some reason. I hope you guys didn't hear it. Hopefully this way, somewhat. Can you hear there's a plastic bag in this that's holding the wigs together. Put on some gloves. Okay, guys, this is the fun. Let me take off Monk and Robot. Thank you for that discussion. I had a lot of fun. There. I thought these match, but they really don't. Oh well. Okay, you saved me with the eyelashes. What am I filming today? I think I'm going to do a review of Stephen King's book. Then I'm going to do a Critical Role. But yeah, I think I was going to do a review of Fairy Tale. Hey, Lex! I have there still in mint condition are Marvel Civil War novel and Mouse Chew. Wow. Yeah, I haven't read Mouse yet, too. The lashes are not new. They're older, actually. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I hope to see you next week. And this is not my favorite look I've ever done, but it is what it is. As usual, may all the books you read be blessed, and I will see you again next week. Bye for now.